morning, everyone, and welcome to a special edition of The Balancing Act presents Best of Behind the Mystery. I'm Olga Villaverde.
And I'm Monta Williams. Today we're taking a look back at some of our most memorable moments from our Rare and Genetic Disease series, Behind the Mystery.
It's a packed show, and it all starts right now.
We've covered a variety of stories over the past decade. However, one thing remains constant: the selfless role of the care provider.
From spouses to children to parents and siblings, people's lives are forever changed as a result of one having a rare disease.
One in particular really stood out to us. Take a look at this.
It's a rare neurodevelopmental disorder that affects approximately 50,000 children and adults in the United States and more than 1 million worldwide.
Wow. You know, no one is born with it. Instead, it evolves over time in very young children from treatment-resistant seizures.
We're going to start with Tracy Dixon-Salzar, the executive director of the only global organization focused on helping those who suffer.
We're going behind the mystery of Lennox-Gastaux Syndrome.
Tracy knows firsthand the devastating effect of LGS. Her daughter Savannah developed it at 5 years old as a result of uncontrollable epilepsy, which began when she was 2.
She started having seizures every day. She quickly started having more than one type of seizure. And she started having them so frequently that a good day was 5 to 10 seizures a day, and a bad day was hundreds, too many to count. And so her brain was trying to grow, and it was trying to put itself together the way that a toddler's brain does, and yet she had all of these seizures that were preventing that from happening. And it really impacted her learning, her memory, and her ability to retain information over time. It was just the most scary, helpless, frustrating feeling in the world. And it was happening to one of the most precious things in my life, my baby girl, and there was really nothing that we could do to stop it.
The Balancing Act is on location at NYU's Comprehensive Epilepsy Center to meet with Dr. Orrin Davinsky.
Lennox-Gastaux syndrome is a disorder typically beginning in childhood, often in young childhood. Several seizure types, often difficult to control, often including either tonic or atonic seizures, intellectual disability or developmental delays, and specific features on the EEG. And the two most important ones are slow spike and wave discharges, and the other classic EEG feature of LGS is called generalized paroxysmal fast activity, and it's a relatively specific signature for LGS.
Determined to be part of the research community committed to understanding LGS, Tracy enrolled in college and received her bachelor's degree and ultimately her Ph.D.
Once we processed getting the diagnosis of LGS, we got up off the floor, wiped our tears, and decided we were going to move forward. And this is really when I hit school full force. I wanted to understand what doctors were thinking and what they were saying, because I couldn't fix it. I couldn't help my daughter, and I wanted to do something that could try to help her as we're sitting there watching her lose her skills, lose her ability, and maybe lose her life.
There are many potential underlying causes of LGS, like genetic disorders or lack of oxygen to the brain. Unfortunately today, the medications that we have available are not fully effective in controlling seizures for the vast majority of these individuals. There's no cure. We wish there was a magic bullet, but medicine's not close to that at this time.
By the time she was 18, she had had more than 40,000 seizures. She had tried and failed more than 26 different treatments, and we were losing her. And I think the worst part of all of that was that 2 to 4 times a week, she would go into status epilepticus, nonstop seizures, where we would have to intervene to stop the seizures with medicines. But if that didn't work, it was a trip to the emergency room, where they would give her more drugs intravenously, and if that didn't work, she'd be put into a medically induced coma. And that was our life for 16 years.
The impact of LGS on a family is, I think, unimaginable. Parents live on edge. At any point, their child could go into what could be a life-threatening seizure. Their children go to sleep at night, and they may have to worry about sudden, unexpected death and epilepsy, SUDEP. And unfortunately, there are just many ways that these individuals who suffer from uncontrolled seizures really can impact mortality. Their judgment's impaired about what's safe and what's not safe, so they really have to be watched closely.
More of Tracy's stories in just a moment.
We'll be right back. Welcome back, everyone. Let's go back to Tracy as she shares the life-changing result genetic sequencing had on her own daughter. Take a look.
It was during my postdoc, and my advisor asked if we wanted to do genetic sequencing on Savannah, and we jumped at the chance for this opportunity. What we discovered was there was something wrong with her calcium pathway, which means that maybe we can fix it. And we actually ultimately ended up finding a drug that went in there and patched up a hole that was letting too much of the calcium in. And it was amazing the results that we saw after we put her on that. Dropped her seizures down exponentially. She's growing again, and she's developing, and she's walking and talking, and it's like we met her for the first time. All right, that's amazing. You did it. I just remember thinking, wow, our lives are really different than they used to be. She's just growing into a lovely young woman that we were told would never live to be 28 years old.
The future and hope for people with LGS has never been brighter. There are several medications that will be undergoing clinical trials. There are gene therapies for certain rare disorders that can be part of the LGS spectrum. And I think there are new neuroscientific techniques that will allow us to treat seizures and other disabilities more effectively in the future. Our progress in science has been exponential, and I do believe there's a lot of hope for these individuals.
The mission of the Lennox-Gastaux Syndrome Foundation is to improve the lives of individuals impacted by Lennox-Gastaux Syndrome, or LGS. That includes the whole family. And we do this by raising money for research, by supporting and empowering our families, and educating the community about what LGS is. Since I took over as the executive director at the LGS Foundation about a year ago, we have lost many children and adults that have LGS in our community. And it's heartbreaking to see the struggles that they go through, and it is a life-threatening illness. And we believe at the foundation that if patients and families are a part of the creation of new medicines, of new programs, of new interventions, if you're actually working with us and not designing at us or for us, that we'll go further faster.
The LGS Foundation has been extraordinary and has been a major mover of, I think, pushing science forward. I think the community building and bringing families together may be the most important part of this, because people share experiences, people share knowledge of techniques that work, doctors who have been especially sensitive and helpful in caring for their children. So I think all of those things are intangibles. When they're all put together, the LGS Foundation has just been an amazing benefit for this community.
The one thing I think that she's taught us is to live in the moment. She doesn't fret about the past. She doesn't worry about the future. She just lives in the now and whatever's in front of her, and we try to do that with her. I don't know what the future holds, but we have had 11 amazing years. Our lives are so different than they were 11 years ago, and we are just going to enjoy every second of it. And we're also just going to keep fighting for every other LGS family out there, that they find some stability and some seizure control like we did.
For more information on Lennox-Gastaux Syndrome, visit lgsfoundation.org.
And of course, you can always visit our website, thebalancingact.com.
We'll be right back.
Welcome back, everyone. As we celebrate a decade of Behind the Mystery, let's meet co-creators Mager and Carri Levy, who share their inspiration for this series.
So take a look at this.
We had a conversation one day and had that aha moment where we needed to do something bigger. We need to educate the world about what rare and genetic diseases are. And really from that day forward, we have.
Behind the Mystery started as a 6-part mini-series for The Balancing Act on Lifetime TV. Over the last 8 years, I've learned that one answer can lead to thousands of more questions.
My twin brother Sean was diagnosed with acinar cell cyst adenoma at the age of 25. It's a rare pancreatic tumor, and at the time of his diagnosis, there were only 12 other previously reported cases of ACA. I'm Molly Mager, and I am the co-creator of the Behind the Mystery Rare and Genetic series.
It started with Ilana. Not being able to have a name for Ilana's illness was a really lonely, lonely road. And from a mother's point of view, just made me extremely angry and more powerful at the same time, because I wasn't going to give up, no matter what. My name is Carri Levy, and I am the creator of Behind the Mystery.
What drives me is knowing that through the Behind the Mystery Rare and Genetic series, I'm doing my part to contribute to an increased understanding of rare.
The silver lining of Behind the Mystery is Ilana's diagnosis.
I hope I'm like my mom. I hope that one day I can be as good of a mother as she was to me, to devote her job and her work every day to researching and to trying to find a cure for me. The show has helped so many people get diagnosed and understand their disease.
With the Behind the Mystery Rare and Genetic series, we're able to put a face with the disease, we're giving patients a voice, and we're providing orphan drug companies with a platform to educate the world about the work that they're doing.
It took 19 years for me to get diagnosed. So growing up, I was always sick. I was constantly inundated with flus, colds, infections, and my doctors were always saying things like, it's just a little cold, she'll get over it. They told my parents that I was faking it, and I wasn't. But I finally found a doctor who really listened to my story and decided to do the tests to find out what it was that I had. He got the results, and he said, you need to go to the hospital right now. I'm Ilana Jacqueline, and I have primary immune deficiency disease. It was a paradigm shift for me, finally having a name for this disease and for what I was feeling. My rare disease affects my day-to-day and my life in big ways. It means I have to be more careful about everything. I have to be more aware about my surroundings and think twice about any activity that might expose me to germs. For me, I'm one of the fortunate ones. While I have a rare disease, I'm still a pretty functional person. I'm functional enough that I can work, and I've devoted all of my work to being a patient advocate, which means that for the other millions of Americans with rare diseases, I can do for them what they no longer have the physical capacity to do for themselves. I have a message for the undiagnosed patients, and that's if you have a feeling in your gut that something is wrong, and you're being told that nothing is wrong when you know there is, just keep going, because the answers are out there and we're still learning, but you will find your way.
Wow, such a powerful story.
I know, a mother's love for her daughter, and look, amazing. We'll have more Best of Behind the Mystery when we return, but first, one of the youngest and cutest guests to share their rare disease story.
I have a rare disease.
Mila was very sick at the age of 2, and she had an ongoing fever for over 30 days. and initially it was misdiagnosed as infant measles. Being a first-time mom and not knowing what was going on, I felt very lost and heartbroken, and we just knew that we needed to dig deeper to find what was truly going on with her. We decided to change pediatricians, and as soon as we walked in, he told us she has Kawasaki disease and she needs to be seen immediately. Doctors told us that this was something they had only seen in textbooks, but not very often in person. As a first-time mom, I was scared for what the outcome was going to be, what our everyday to-day life was going to become, and how Mila was going to feel in the end. Kawasaki disease is very rare and affects fewer than 20,000 people a year, and my daughter is one of them.
My name's Mila and I have Kawasaki. When I'm sick, I get fevers. It makes me feel sad. When I get sick, my mom takes care of me.
From a mother's perspective, when Mila is in the hospital and not doing well, it's heartbreaking, and I just want to be her biggest advocate to make sure that I get all the answers that she needs to be able to be her best self. Today, Mila is thriving. She has grown tremendously. She understands what goes on in her body, and she's able to communicate that to me, which makes it much easier to get answers and explain to doctors what's going on with her. And she's a normal 5-year-old.
Hi everyone, my name is Travis Flores. I am 29 years old and I am living with cystic fibrosis. Many of you might know cystic fibrosis as CF. It affects the lungs and digestive system. And when I was born, the average life expectancy of someone with CF was about 5 years old. And it was a progressive, aggressive, terminal illness. And today, thanks to research and funding and the advocacy that you guys have done to provide that, people with CF are living very different lives than the life I've had to live. Cystic fibrosis, when I was growing up, was incredibly hard. I spent a lot of my time in the hospital, which led to needing a double lung transplant. Unfortunately, the first one failed. I had a second one, which was an incredible gift, in 2017, and that one failed. When that one failed, I thought it was the end of the road for me. However, with the advocacy I did, and with the help and support of people like you who advocate for people like me, I was able to get a very rare third double lung transplant thanks to UCLA. I'm one of about 30 people in the world to ever have that done. So to be here today, alive, talking to you about cystic fibrosis, about rare disease, about research and funding and advocacy means the world to me. Becoming an organ donor is incredibly important as well. An organ donor can save up to 8 lives, and countless other people can be helped by the tissues of an organ donor. My community suffers a lot. There's about 30,000 people in this country with cystic fibrosis and about 70,000 people worldwide. I know that's not the most rare disease, but it's not a common cold. It takes a lot of effort every day for people like me in my community, and we go through the worst of the worst things you could possibly imagine. My voice is like this because of an intubation tube of being on a breathing machine. I ask that you all consider advocating for people like me in the rare disease community. Help us get funding to fund the research to help us get medications to keep us alive and safe. And also, you can keep us safe by wearing a mask. This is everyday life for me. I know no different. I've done this for 29 years. We can do this for just a little while to help each other, keep each other safe. Thank you guys, take care.
That was Travis Flores, a recipient of a rare third double lung transplant.
My goodness, we are thrilled that Travis continues to advocate for research funding and the importance of organ donation.
Absolutely. And Travis, thank you so much for all you do. And of course, thank you for watching this special edition of The Balancing Act, Best of Behind the Mystery.
Remember to head to our Facebook page and our website. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram as well.
So you know what you got to do. You got to stay safe, love that family of yours, and we'll see you next time.